Now, recently, the 2025 Democracy Perception Index was launched. Well, the Democracy Perception Index is the world's largest annual study on how people perceive democracy. It includes perception of countries and leaders, government ratings, security, and defense. Now, this year's report offers an unprecedented comparison of global attitudes towards democracy across 100 countries. Tonight, we dive into this survey to find out what it reveals about the perception of democracy in Nigeria, Africa, and the rest of the world. Our data scientist, Babajide Ogunso, who is the founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's chief data analyst, is right here to share the facts, the analysis, and the insights about the 2025 Democracy Perception Index. Great to have you on the news at Babajide.
Good evening, Ayatollah.
So very quickly, 26 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria. Beyond the years, what should be the focus on?
For me, the focus should be that
What should the focus be on, rather?
The focus, as you said, for me, that five-letter word, nexus. And by nexus, I'm talking about the nexus between three things. The first is, what does the Constitution say? The second is, what are the citizens saying? And the third is, what are citizens around the world saying? Now, what do I mean by what does the Constitution say? What the Constitution says with reference to democracy, again, the first time there's a mention of democracy in the Nigerian Constitution, Section 14. And it talks about the primary purpose of government, security and welfare. The primary purpose of government is so primary, Ayotunde, that there's nowhere in the Constitution, in the Nigerian Constitution, that you'll find a secondary purpose of government. So that's to tell you how core security and welfare is, the primary purpose of government. Now, the second thing I talked about is, what are Nigerians saying about democracy? And going by this recent survey by the Democracy Perception Index, which was done in April this year, majority of Nigerians, as their number one reason, say they want from democracy, that they want improved living standards and welfare. So we see a nexus there between what Nigerians are saying and what the Constitution says. The third, Ayotunde, is there a nexus between Nigeria's Constitution, what the people have said, and what citizens around the world also want from democracy? So let's take a look at and dive into the summary of what this study shows in our chart of the week. And in that chart of the week, citizens around the world, when asked what is the primary purpose of government, out of 100 countries, 52 countries say the primary purpose is they want improvement in living standards and well-being. In the United Kingdom and 18 other countries, they say they want it to be being able to freely choose the government. In the United States, as well as 16 other countries, their primary purpose for democracy is protecting individuals' rights and freedom. And for countries such as Ukraine and 12 other countries, they say that they want their primary purpose when they talk about democracy is promoting fair and a peaceful society.
So what are the people saying about democracy globally, Babajide? Let's move to the, as the world is concerned.
Now, in that, Ayotunde, based on the research of April by Democracy Perception Index, and again, that's the most comprehensive study on democracy around the world, in that report, there's bad news and there's sad news. Now, what do I mean by bad news? The bad news is when they ask citizens in continents such as Europe, Middle East, and North Africa, North America, Southern America, majority of citizens in that survey scored their countries, out of a possible score of 5 being the best, majority of citizens scored their governments less than 3 over 5. Now, that's the bad news. Let's take a look at the sad news, Ayotunde. The sad news is, across the 100 countries that the Democracy Perception Index covered, in their ranking of which countries are perceived as the most democratic, Norway, New Zealand, Denmark, and Sweden come out as the top 4. The sad news is Nigeria is among the bottom 5 of countries ranked as the least democratic in the world.
So as we round up, Babajide, what is your analysis of the President's speech to the National Assembly concerning June 12? Very quickly.
Clearly, it was a very powerful speech. It had a lot of talks about democracy. And if we take a look at, perhaps for me, what caught me the most, that is where we find the good news. And if we take a look at what the president clearly said regarding his position on democracy, and we also take a look at what exactly is going on in other countries with Africa, it allows us to know clearly what the president is thinking. And if we take a look at that, what the president made it clear was that, called me names. Okay, let's take a look at the ranking, the democratic ranking across Africa, which we had said was the sad news. Looking at sub-Saharan Africa, highest public ratings in sub-Saharan Africa based on this survey, Senegal, Namibia, Ghana, Zambia, and Kenya come out as the top 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria is in the bottom 5 in sub-Saharan Africa, Uganda, Cameroon, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. And that's why I say it's sad news. However, this trend is a bit consistent with how citizens around the world perceive governance. Majority of citizens in other countries scored their governments as well, less than 3 out of a possible 5. But clearly on Democracy Day, here's what the president is saying on our quote of the week. He says, call me names, call me whatever you will, and I will still call upon democracy to defend your right to do so. And for me, that's the quote of the week. That's the president more or less saying that he belongs to democracy. Today.
Thank you so much, Babajide, for your analysis and, of course, insights. We do appreciate them.
Pleasure is all mine, Today.